Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. My name is Hannah and I am coming to you, as always, from sunny St. Petersburg, Florida in the United States where I live. You can find me on Ravelry as The Cozy Cottage, and then everywhere else on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube as The Cozy Cottage Crochet. You can comment, follow, I will get back to you. But if you have any specific inquiries related to the podcast itself, please email me. I have an email address. It is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com. So that'll help me keep track of any inquiries related to the podcast itself and make sure that I can get back to you in a timely manner. You guys, I have so much to go over with you. In fact, I have so much to talk about that I don't even know how it's all going to fit in this episode. This episode is called Stitchcation because I'm going to give you an update on the Stitchcation that I had 2 weeks ago. The last episode was recorded right before I left, and I had the best time. I have never been on any kind of a crafting vacation. For those of you who don't know, if you're a new viewer, I went on a long weekend trip to St. Augustine, Florida, which is a beach town, with my best friend Caitlin and her mom, who are part of a sewing circle. So the sewing circle rented a giant house on the beach, and they stayed there Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. We left on Sunday, and they just sewed constantly. I don't sew. More on that a different time. But I don't sew currently. And I crochet though, so they invited me and I got to go and it was awesome. It was actually in St. Augustine Beach, not St. Augustine proper, so I didn't end up going downtown at all. In fact, I didn't even go to the beach, which is crazy because I love crocheting on the beach, but I was so involved in the projects that I had brought with me, I didn't even make it down to the water one time, which is, I don't know how that happened. I took a bathing suit with me. I did sit out on the balcony for a while and crochet because we were right on the beach, so I could hear the water, I could look at the beach, see the clouds coming in. It was so beautiful. They all took a field trip to a quilting shop, so I went along, I looked at all the fabric, I didn't buy anything. I took a crochet project with me and worked on that while they were all oohing and eyeing over the quilting material. I didn't buy any yarn while I was in St. Augustine, although I did get given some baby yarn while I was there, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. If you watch the last episode, you see all the new projects I wanted to start. I started 4 of the 5 projects while I was there. So I had basically 2.5 straight days of crochet, which is the best thing ever in the world. My only complaint is, for some reason, my allergies were killing me in that beach house. And maybe it was because it was an old house or the air conditioning. But every time the air conditioner kicked on, I coughed and sneezed. And it wasn't just me. There were people in the house who did not have allergies. And they seemed to be having a hard time breathing by the end of the 3rd day as well. So, I don't know. Something was wrong with that air conditioner. But other than that, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful house, beautiful view, right on the beach. Definitely one of the most fun things I've done. I have so much to show you. At the end of the episode, I actually am going to be talking about a giveaway, so stay tuned. I've got finished objects to show you. I have lots of works in progress to show you, an acquisition, so much. So let's jump right in. First, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or perhaps the bee in the room, which is my finished Hotel of Bees shawl. This pattern is by Christina Hatteran from A Spoonful of Yarn. You can get this, I ordered this on Ravelry. Sandra from the Cherry Heart podcast and Sam from Betsy Makes are running a crochet along, or a CAL as it's known. So that actually finishes on May 31st, I want to say. So if you haven't started, you should you'd have to spend all day on this, probably a couple of days to get it finished in time. If you can't join the crochet along, you should still do this shawl. It is a beautiful pattern. It was $5. I think it was $5.69 in US because it was the exchange rate. It's in pounds. So it's definitely worth it though. The pattern is 20-something pages long. It's got pictures and it's so beautiful. The yarn that I used for this is Premier Yarns Cotton Fair. I used the colorway Cloud Gazing, which is the variegated. I used Turquoise, which is this blue. Although this does not look turquoise to me. This looks like just baby blue, but whatever. And then I just have a white. So those are the 3 colors I used. The pattern calls for, I thought I was going to use more yarn because she calls for a 3mm hook. I used a 4mm hook. It's my yarn. It's a sport weight. It's a number 2 yarn. There's 317 yards per ball, and she calls for more than that of your 2 main colors. So I bought 2 of the blue and 2 of the Cloud Gazing colorway. But I actually didn't even touch this blue one, and I barely broke into this one. And that's only because it was all tangled up, so I wanted to untangle it. I probably could have gotten away with using the rest of this. This is what's left from the first ball. I don't know how many grams that is. I didn't weigh it, but it's like a little mini almost. And then I have about half of the white left. So I think I could make an entire another Hotel of Bees shawl with my leftover yarn. The coloring might have to be a little bit different, just the way that I striped it, but I'm pretty sure I have enough yarn to make another one. Although I'm not going to make another one right now because I have so many other things that I'm working on. This is a 52% cotton, 48% acrylic blend. I really like this yarn. It was super easy to work with. I haven't used it prior to making this Hotel of Bees shawl. It's very soft and it's super lightweight, which is key for me because I'm in Florida and it's already 95 outside with lots of humidity. So I cannot be wearing a heavy, warm wool shawl around my neck. Let me show this to you. It has not been blocked. I was out of town for work, so I took this with me. I finished it while I was out of town, and I didn't have my blocking mats, and I didn't want to throw it in a washing machine that I'm not familiar with. So I have not blocked it or washed it. I will be doing that this weekend. So maybe next episode I can show you what it looks like because I expect it to grow a little bit. Let me show you. So here we've got, now my favorite thing about this shawl is that you start on the long end. When you start on the long end, every row after that gets shorter. So by the end, you're just zooming through it. So this is my long end. We've got our first section. I'm showing you the wrong side, aren't I? Silly. We've got our first section of wings. Then you have this honeycomb pattern. So right now, I mean, you can see that it's a honeycomb, but once it's blocked, it's gonna really stretch out. Then we have little bees. First section of bees. Then we've got the first section of filet honeycomb. Hopefully you can see that. We've got another wings section, and that's where I switched into the blue. So now I have a blue section of honeycomb and the filet crochet. There's little blue bees here. And then down here we've got the final section of wings, final section of bees, and the last little bit. And then of course the border. I didn't have the right stitch count on the border, but I wasn't really trying, and it doesn't really matter. I think I was a couple stitches off, but who cares? This is, I can't get the whole thing in the frame. This is how big it is currently. It's my wingspan. It is going to grow a little bit. I just love it. The way that I did it, I have wings. I've got blue wings and 2 sets of variegated wings. And then I've got blue bees. I've got 2 white bee sections and 1 blue bee section. So this pattern is so awesome. You've got to make it. And buying a pattern on Ravelry, so easy. I've never bought a pattern on Ravelry before buying this one. I've bought patterns from designers before, but not, it just delivered it immediately. It's in my Ravelry library. I downloaded it as a PDF and printed it off. It's fantastic. This shawl is wonderful. And I don't even know how you come up with something like this. It's beyond me. So very, very happy with this shawl. I'm going to wear it all day today because it matches what I'm wearing. That's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 is my sweater. So last episode, you remember I was complaining to the universe because I've had to frog a whole sleeve. Well, I finished this sweater on Stitchcation. I seamed it up, finished the sleeve, and now it's ready to wear. This has not been blocked either because I've been out of town. It hasn't been washed. Put it like this. It actually fits really, really well. I could do with it personally maybe being like an inch or 2 longer. I just like things to be a little longer, but I think it will stretch out a little bit when I block it. It's got a boat neck, so this is the boat neck pullover. It's a free pattern. You can find it on Yarn Inspirations. I did the striping on the body, and then I just did plain gray sleeves because I didn't want to have to do the math on how to match the striping because they're done from the bottom up. So this is a sweater. It's actually very heavy. I thought that it wouldn't be. I don't know what I was thinking. It's a very solid stitch. It's half double crochets the whole time, so I don't know why I thought it was going to be a thin sweater. But I certainly am not going to be able to wear this until the fall and probably the winter. So as soon as it gets below 70, then I'll pull this out and start wearing it. It's even huge. Like if you fold it up, look how big it is. It's like a blanket almost, but it's very soft. I'm so happy with it. And if I took this with me somewhere, let's say I took it on a plane, I could totally use this as a pillow because it's so fluffy and big. I think it was a fantastic pattern. It was very easy to follow. I had no problems at all. The only annoying part was the seaming everything together. So I'm not particularly a fan of that. Now, if the whole sweater was in one color, it would have been easier. But because I was doing this striping, I don't know if you can see right here. It was hard to do the seaming without the gray coming through on the pink. I did a better job on this section. This one, I don't know, I must have been in a hurry because the gray is coming through. I don't think it matters too much because I mean, that's where my arm's going to be anyways. Doesn't really matter. But it took longer than it should have to seam it up because I was trying to be really careful about the pink not coming through. Crochet sweater, my very first crochet sweater. I have so many plans for more. Okay. That's not all. I have another finished object. In fact, I have more than one finished object. This yarn, let me show you the yarn and then I'll show you what I made with it. I showed you the yarn last time. It's Country Loom, Loops and Threads in the colorway Wizard. Oh, I just knocked everything off the table. There's so much that I have to talk about. The whole table is covered. You can't see it because you're looking at my face, but I'm gonna have to pause in between this and the next finished object because I just knocked all the pattern and everything off the table. This is the yarn. So it's like it's a chunky, kind of fuzzy, weird kind of a yarn, and it's blue and purple and lime green and black. And I've had this yarn, it was given to me. I've had 3 balls of it. I've had it in my stash for a while, just waiting. I just didn't know what to do with it because it's so fuzzy and it's so warm, and I don't really want to wear it around my neck because Florida. But I want to do something with it. I don't want to just make like there's not enough to make a blanket. I don't want to make part of a blanket. And you get 104 yards per ball. So I used 2.5 balls in the project that I made. I have this much left. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Maybe make granny squares. This is what I made. I made a crochet mini skirt. I did not have a pattern for this. I just made it up. So the band, I don't know if you can't really tell the difference. Maybe you can, if I get it close enough. This is the band right here. So what I did was I chained 11, and then I did half double crochets, side to side, all the way around until it fit my waist. Then I joined the band, and then I did a single crochet around to get a base stitch, and then I did half double crochets for the rest. And I just kind of increased and decreased randomly. So it's actually a little poofy right here and right here because I might have increased too much or not waited long enough before I started my decreases. So I was trying to fit my hips in. Okay, so let me scoot back. This is the skirt itself. I put in a drawstring because it will stretch out a little bit when I wear it. This is something else I'm not going to be able to wear until the fall. I can't, it's 95 degrees outside, and this is like wearing a blanket around the lower half of your body. But I think it'll be super, super cute over tights. The drawstring is way too long. I've got to shorten that up, but that's the only thing that I have to do. I don't know how long this took me, maybe 2 days. I don't know how many hours. I really like it. The only thing I'm not sure about is how well it's going to hold up. I'm going to be gentle with it, but it's very fuzzy yarn. So I'm kind of thinking it's probably going to fuzz up a lot when I'm sitting on the butt part, on the part that I have to sit on. So we'll see. I'm not going to be able to wear it until December. So I'll report back in December and let you know if the skirt is holding up or not. But even if I only get to wear this 3 or 4 times and then it looks ridiculous before I have to depill it or take some scissors to the fuzz that it produces, I think it's worth it. Because who has a chunky, fuzzy crocheted skirt? And the colors are just amazing. So that's my finished object. Number 3. Okay, let me pause for a second so that I can grab the other finished object that I just wildly knocked off the table, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm resituated. So I actually have another finished object to show you. These aren't super impressive. They're for a commission. Someone had ordered some hats from me. They just wanted plain, dark colored skull cap beanies. So I've made 2. The first one using Red Heart Soft, which is an acrylic yarn, just in black, just black. And then I found Deborah Norville, which is Premier Yarns. She has it's called a Charcoal Heather. I don't know if you can tell the difference on the camera. This one's a little lighter, and it is kind of heathered a little bit. This Deborah Norville yarn is amazingly soft. However, it is a pain. It's so splitty, and it left fuzz. I was working on this on my hotel room. I had to go to Austin for work, and it left fuzz all over the bed, all over it. So this hat is going to have to be washed and defuzzed a little bit, which makes me sad because it is way softer than this Red Heart. And not that the Red Heart Soft isn't soft and worth it. I mean, what are these, like $3-4 a ball? If you get them at Joann's, you can get a coupon for them. Maybe have them be $2. So I made 1 hat in each. The pattern that I used is the Stay Strong beanie by Elk Studio, but I did not do any color changes because they just wanted a plain hat with no frills whatsoever. I just used this pattern as a template. If you Google this, this is a free pattern. The Stay Strong beanie by Elk Studio. Hats drive me crazy. I've made tons of hats to donate, and those are fine because I don't have to match them to anybody's size head. When I am trying to make a hat for someone that I know or me, it never seems, I don't know if I just crochet way too tightly or what, but the hat never seems to be the right size. I have a giant head. I have a 22 and a half inch head, which is a man-sized head. So if this hat fits me, it's going to fit the person that I'm making it for. And I had to rip it out 3 times because it was too small. So finally, the pattern calls for a size I crochet hook, and I ended up doing it in a 6mm. I almost wanted to try it in a 6.5mm, but I ended up being happy with this. So here's one hat. It's just a plain beanie hat. I did actually follow the pattern, so you increase for 5 rows, then you do 2 rows of double crochets, then you do half double crochet, single crochet, half double crochet rows. That's where you're supposed to do the color changes. I just did that in black. And then I did, you're supposed to repeat the color change rows. However, I did 4 rows of double crochet and then repeated because he wanted it longer. He wants it over his ears. And then I did a final single crochet. And the hat pattern, I believe, calls for crab stitch around the edge, but I didn't really like how that was looking up. So basically, I followed the pattern for the increases, and then I just kept going. I do think that having the 2 sections of half double crochet, single crochet, half double crochet, those 3 rows, help make the hat fit properly. So I have this one that's black, and then I have this one in gray. You can't really tell the difference. This one's actually a little more stretchy with the Deborah Norville yarn. Let me see if I can put it on so you can see. This is my beanie hat. So it fits my giant melon. You don't have to worry because I'm going to wash these. I'm not going to just put them on my head and then gift them without washing them. If this hat had worked, because the black one is the one I made first, and it's the one I had to rip out 3 times. So if it had worked, I should have been done in an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But instead, it took me 4 episodes of NCIS on Netflix to get this hat to where I was happy with it. This one took much less time. It only took 2 episodes, and I was distracted in eating ice cream, cashew milk ice cream, while I was doing it, so I wasn't completely focusing on it. So I really actually like these hats. I may make some more in the winter time for me. I'm going to save this pattern. It's a great pattern. I see it right here. Look at this. Can you see this fuzz coming off? You can't really. Oh, there it is. The fuzz coming off the Deborah Norville yarn. Like, what is that? Makes me unhappy. We'll see. Hopefully they like them. That's all my finished objects. I know that's a lot. That's a lot of finished objects. So let's move on to works in progress because I have some of those too. I've had so much time to crochet. So I had crochet on Stitchcation, and then I've been in a plane multiple times in the last 2 weeks because I had to go to Austin, Texas for work and stay there for a week and a half, and then I had to fly home, and there was layovers involved, and I just had so much time to crochet. Plus, I was by myself in a hotel room. So when I'm home, normally I have things to do, cleaning and cooking and hanging out with family and friends and doing stuff, and I didn't have anything to do. So I just crocheted. This is something that I showed you last episode, the yarn. I got this yarn on clearance at Tuesday morning for $3 a ball. It's called Ariana yarn, and it's bamboo yarn. 63% bamboo and 37% polyamide, and I instantly knew that I was going to make a skirt with it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough yarn. And surprise, I did not. That's why it's a work in progress, not a finished object. So here's my skirt. As you can see, this is very tiny. It will be long enough to wear over tights with 1 more strip. But I only had 3 balls, and I haven't weaved any of the ends in. I finished this on Stitchcation. This is the project that I took when we went to dinner, when we went to the, what am I saying? I can't think. When we went to the quilting shop with all the fabric, this is what I was working on. So I finished it, And then we stopped at a Tuesday morning, and I'm like, maybe they'll have a ball. Maybe they'll have another one. No, the yarn is discontinued. This would be completely inappropriate to wear. It is too short. Now, it covers my butt. Just barely. So I cannot wear this. So I did go online, and I searched and searched to find this yarn. I couldn't find it anywhere except on the actual Universal Yarns website, and they didn't have most of the colorways. I did find one ball, though, in a colorway. They had pink, but I didn't really think pink after the red was going to look right. And I don't mind pink and red. I just don't think the combination. So I actually found a blue ball. So that's going to add one more stripe. And this is, because it's bamboo, I'll definitely be able to wear this during the summer. Oh, it'll be such a, and I didn't use a pattern for this either. I'm just winging it. You can see compared to the other skirt that it's way less hip-shaped because this yarn is very stretchy. So it should have no problems. And it's very soft, and I really can't wait to wear this. I'm going to work on this week, and hopefully I'll have it next week to show you, or next time. That's work in progress number 1. Ran out of yarn. Let me find somewhere to put this on my table. Work in progress number 2 is another project that I started on Stitchcation that I had showed you last time. It is the Sea and Sand Triangle Tunic, this right here, from issue 45. I was reading that backwards, and I thought it said 54, and then I was like, that can't be right. I haven't had this for that long. Of the Simply Crochet magazine. This right here. I'm making a beach cover-up because it's the summertime, y'all. We're going to the beach. In fact, maybe I'll go to the beach tomorrow and work on this. The yarn I am using is another yarn that I got at Tuesday morning. It is a discontinued yarn. However, I got hold of a lot of it. It's by Fibra Natura. It's called Naturaline. It is a cotton linen blend, 53% cotton and 47% linen. I have colorway, it's just blue and white is what it's called. This is the white. Now, I am not following the color scheme or the striping pattern in the tunic pattern. I'm doing rows of 3 stripes. This is what I have so far. The body calls for 21 rows, and then you split off. Then you start with a V-neck, and you do the whole yoke shaping in the sleeves. So I'm about halfway through the body. I'm actually not sure if this is going to be long enough. I may need to add some rows. I did get gauge, but it just seems short. Although I know linen's going to stretch out. I don't think it's going to stretch that much. I don't know. I like it. This is where I left off. See my little stitch marker? Oh. My little bead. I made this stitch marker the other day. In fact, I made a couple. I used to be really into making jewelry. And by making jewelry, I mean making earrings. So I have like 20 or 30 pairs of earrings that I made. And then everyone got earrings. Every female that I know got earrings for Christmas one year. I don't know if you can see these, but I made these as well. So I love to wear handmade earrings. So this is my tunic. This is going to take me a long time because the yarn is very stiff and hard to work with, and it hurts my elbow. So I have to be careful sometimes, and it's why I don't generally work with super chunky yarn. And it's also why I don't generally make a lot of amigurumi, because you have to crochet very tightly, and it hurts my arm. I have tennis elbow, even though I have never played tennis a day in my life. So I hurt my arm in college, and it just kind of gives me problems if I ever do a ton of typing or a ton of this with the crochet hook. Now, I have my crochet hooks that I have are the Clover Soft Touch. I don't have one here, but I love them. I can crochet for hours with no pain with them. But when I start dealing with really stiff yarn and a really, really tight crochet gauge, it starts to bother me. So I've been going very slowly on this, maybe doing half a row a day, because that doesn't seem to bother me. I did 2.5 rows one day because I got a little excited. And I mean, normally if this was a cotton yarn, just straight cotton, I would be done with this probably, because it's not a complicated pattern. But I'm trying not to hurt myself. And the day that I did 2.5 rounds, I could really feel it. So that kind of blows. But I am really happy with this pattern. And I have enough yarn to make it longer if I want to. So that's my work in progress number 2. And I have one more. Will it ever stop? Who knows? This is the most frustrating and the most beautiful project that I am working on. It's living in this giant project bag that my friend Caitlin made me. This is a Drops design pattern. It's the Seashore Bliss cardigan. It is a free pattern on their website. This is what it's supposed to look at. What it's supposed to look like. This pattern is the worst. If you're thinking about making this, don't. That's horrible. Every time I sit down to it, I'm like, this is the worst. But it's so beautiful that I have to keep going. Now, I would consider myself to be an intermediate crocheter because I can look at a pattern and figure it out. I know a lot of people had felt that the Hotel of Bee shawls was advanced for them, and they had a lot of trouble sometimes with the wings. I had no trouble with the Hotel of Bee shawl. It took me about 5 minutes to figure out the first wing, and after that, I had no problems at all. I didn't lose count. I didn't have any problems. And that's completely the pattern. The pattern was excellent. But I feel like I've been crocheting for years. I would consider myself to be an intermediate crocheter. This project makes me feel like I know nothing. If you're not advanced in deciphering diagrams and using multiple diagrams, and also knowing intuitively what you need to know on a crochet pattern, you're going to have a problem with this pattern. So I spent one entire day at Stitchcation on this project, and I got almost through the little yoke part of the sweater. I spent 3 hours on it. I think it was Saturday that I worked on that. I spent 3 hours on it in the morning, and it just wasn't working correctly. And then we left and went to Hobby Lobby. And I needed a break because I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. And while at Hobby Lobby and having a break, I figured out that I was doing several things wrong. So I ripped the whole thing out and started over. The first thing you need to know is how to read the crochet diagrams. So there's so many pages of that. Look at all these pages of diagrams. Let me just show you an example of one of them, because this is a free pattern, so I don't feel bad showing. Normally, and I don't know, maybe I'm dumb, I didn't think about this. I was reading all the patterns like this is where you start. It tells you where to start. And I was reading the pattern like this. But instead, you have to read the diagram this way, and then the next row, you have to go up and read it the opposite direction. Does it tell you that anywhere in the pattern? No. I had to figure that out by myself. It also does not tell you which side is the right side and the wrong side. So it doesn't even make a mention of that until you get to like row 6 or something, and it's like, from wrong side, do this. But it doesn't tell you which side is the wrong side. So I did some Googling, and I figured out what I thought would be the wrong side. And I'm right. And then I wrote down which side my little yarn tail had to be on for it to be on the right side and the wrong side. And then that started working. Their pattern also, let me just read you if I can find it. Like right here. So we've got, all of the diagrams are named numbers and letters. So it says work A1 over the first 8 DC, A5 over the next 3, A2 over the next 18. A4 is before. Repeat A2 over the next 18. A4 is before. Repeat A2 over the next 48. A4 is before. Repeat A2 over the next 18. A4 is before. Repeat A2 over the next 18. A5 over the next 3. That's one row. That might be okay if they gave you that for every row, but they don't. They only give it to you for random rows. And then they just say follow the pattern. Well, they don't tell you anywhere in here that if you're starting with diagram A1 and you're going this way on the diagram, you end on A5 or A3, let's say. It just says repeat until you get to the end. It doesn't tell you anywhere that on the wrong side row, you don't start with A1, you start with A3 and go backwards. So the next line, like I can understand that you would start on the other side of the diagram, but you actually have to start at the bottom of the paragraph and read backwards. So instead of starting at A1, like you would think, because it says repeat until the end of the diagram, you have to start at the bottom of the paragraph and start at A3 and then go backwards through the paragraph that they sent you. It drives me insane. So I am learning a lot about crochet diagrams. I am getting more confident in my skills because I've had to sit here and literally just think. There's one point where I was earlier this week and I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. So they stop you in the middle of one diagram, they move you to another, and then they have you go back to the first diagram. They don't tell you where in the diagram you should be. So I had to think about it and decide that it would make more sense to start over at the beginning of that diagram, not where you left off, based on the other diagrams you're using. This pattern's going to take me forever. But the problem is it's so beautiful. Let me show it to you. The yarn is Himalaya Perlina. It's the same yarn that I made my other sweater out of. I had some pink left because I only used 2 balls of the pink, and then I got a hold of some more pink. It's actually called Bright Peach. This is what I've done. It doesn't look like much, does it? But look at how beautiful the pattern is. It's gorgeous. And it fits really well. I actually had 3 more rows than this done, and it had split off for the sleeves. And it actually looked like a little sweater. However, I ripped it out on the plane home last night because it calls for 8 chains for the large size underneath the arm. And I tried it on and it just wasn't enough space for my underarm, I guess. So I ripped it back to where I would start the chain. I still haven't decided if I'm going to put more chains in and then do some decreasing later, or if I'm maybe going to try a foundation single crochet instead of the chains that will be more stretchy. Once I can get past this and I just start going back and forth on the body of it, I think it will go a lot smoother because then you only have to work off of 3 diagrams as opposed to 5 or 6 in one row. So that's where I am. It's not very big. I spent 9 hours on this, on Stitchcation. I probably spent another 2 hours figuring out the next 3 rows, but then I just ripped them out. But now I know what I'm doing, so I think that'll be okay. I'll get that back on my hook. The only problem is this pattern, I cannot do anything else. I have to have really good light. I have to have all my diagrams spread out in front of me. And I have to only focus on that. If somebody starts talking to me, or if there's music, or if there's TV, I immediately lose my place, and I have no idea what's going on. And then I lose count. So basically, unless you are a glutton for punishment and you just want to be miserable, don't start this pattern. Unless you love diagrams. If you love diagrams, go for it. If anyone's ever done this pattern and has anything positive to say about it, please tell me. I know it's going to be worth it. Otherwise, I would have frogged the whole thing by now. And in the future, I guess I'll know more about crochet diagrams. So that is my crochet anxiety project, is what it is. That's all my works in progress. I say that's all, like I didn't just spend 45 minutes talking about all of this yarny stuff. We're not quite done yet. I do have a stashed acquisition. I went to a yarn store in Austin, Texas, and I've actually been there before. I went there last time, but I didn't buy anything because I just didn't really need anything, and I don't buy a ton of yarn if I don't have a project in mind for it. But I have a project in mind for what I bought. The yarn store is called Gauge. It's in Austin, Texas. This is their little card. Oh, I'm covering it up. They're so nice. They let me squish all the yarn. And this is what I got. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen these already. They're so soft. It is by Barocco. That's the brand. Modern Cotton DK. You get 335 yards per 100 grams. It is 60% Pima cotton and 40% rayon. So pretty super durable yarn, should be. It is a lightweight yarn. A lightweight yarn, a size 3 yarn. So I got blue and pink. They're still in their little hanks. I haven't even wound them yet. I just love them. And again, perfect for Florida because cotton. So I have a shawl project in mind for this. I don't know the name of the pattern off the top of my head, but Faye, who has the Crochet Circle podcast, in their Take 2 book that she put out, there is a little shawlette that she designed, and it's a wide, thin, crescent-shaped shawl. And I've been eyeing it for quite a while, but I've just had a lot of other things on my hook. But I'm getting that book, so I will be making that shawlette soon. Sometime this summer, I will be making that. So I'm very excited about this yarn. What else do I have to tell you? I do want to talk about some upcoming crochet alongs. Oh, and give you some pod love. So I watch crochet podcasts on YouTube. That's mostly what I do. And I watch a couple of knitting podcasts. I don't really listen to a ton of audio podcasts because I don't spend a lot of time in the car. And that's where I normally would spend time listening to audio podcasts. There are 2 of them that I wanted to share with you. One is Allison and Vivian from the Keep Calm and Carry Yarn podcast. They have an audio podcast. I think they have 5 or 6 episodes out so far. They have a group on Ravelry, and they're running the Keep Calm and Carry Yarn Cal. So crochet along, knit along. And it's versus. Crocheters versus knitters. And a couple of weeks ago, the crocheters were way behind. They didn't have anything, but I contributed this hobcowl, my skirt. Claudia from the Crochet Luna podcast contributed her Hotel V shawl. So if you are a crocheter, you need to get on over to their Ravelry group and you need to enter your finished objects, your yardage. It doesn't even have to be a finished object. It can be anything that you started after May 5th. That yardage that you've started since May 5th, you can put in the crochet along. Because the crocheters should win, you guys. But I drove from Austin, Texas to Fort Worth, Texas to visit a friend over the weekend while I was there. And I had a 3-hour drive. So I listened to, I listened to 4 or 5 of their episodes, and they're so much fun. And I also listened to Brittany of the Be Hooked audio podcast. I only listened to 1 of her episodes so far. It was on how to get the best value for your money. So for most of us, this is a hobby. This is not something we do for a living. We don't just go around getting free yarn all the time to support our habit. So sometimes it can get really expensive. And what do you do? How can you work sales? What websites have good free shipping and things like that? So she goes over that, and I found it very interesting. It's only about a half an hour long. So I think I will be listening to the rest of her episodes as well. She's got maybe 10 episodes so far. She is a crochet designer. If you go to behooked.com, she has tons of free patterns, and they're beautiful. I follow her on Instagram. I've been following her on Instagram for quite some time now, and I just love all of her patterns. Also, an upcoming cow is the Claudia from Crochet Luna podcast, and Clarizabeth from Crochet Cakes are hosting the Summer of Love cow, which I believe starts June 1st. And I am definitely participating in this. I just don't know what project. I have picked my couple, though. So basically the theme is you pick a couple in literature or in media, and you have to have a project be inspired by them, whether it be the yarn or the pattern or the project just reminds you of them. I have picked a couple, and my couple is going to be Wesley and Buttercup from The Princess Bride. I know, so cheesy, but I love them. That's one of my favorite movies, and it always has been, and I quote it too much in real life. So now I have to think of a project so that I can join the Summer of Love cow with Wesley and Buttercup inspired project. I think that's, oh no, let me talk about the giveaway. So you guys, somehow over the last month and a half, over 250 people have subscribed to this podcast, which blows my mind. It's amazing to me because there's so many things that you guys could be doing, and just the fact that you would want to spend some time with me every 2 weeks, share with me what I'm working on, listen to what I have to say, and communicate with me. I've gotten so many lovely comments and messages, and it just fills my heart with joy. I got a message the other day from a lovely lady who said she watched it and she loved the podcast, and it just made my whole day. Like, for the rest of the day, I was smiling. And I want to give something back to you guys. So I don't have a ton of money. I mean, who does, honestly? So I don't have anything that I can buy, really, to give away to you. But what I have is crafting ability. What do crafters do when we don't have enough money? We make stuff, as I am sure you know, because I'm sure all of you have made some Christmas presents at one time or another. So what I'm going to do is give away some stitch markers that I've made. Now, this will be open to anyone, U.S. or outside of the United States. There will be just one restriction. So if you're outside of the United States, I'm going to send you the smaller stitch marker if you win, so that I can put it in a letter-sized envelope. Let me show you. I've only made one so far, but I'll show you the charms for the other ones I'm going to make. I have this beautiful bead. I've been hoarding, I had 2 of these beads. One of the stitch markers is mine. But I have been hoarding these beads for almost 2 years because I think they're so gorgeous. It's like an oil slick on water to me, which is not great. You should not have an oil slick on water, but it's just, the colors are so beautiful. So, and I've got a big clasp on it. It's an 18 millimeter clasp so that you can, it works on my chunky yarn skirt. And also you don't want it to be too small because if you're working with delicate yarn, you don't want it to snag. So that's one stitch marker. I also have, let's see if you can see these 3 cute little umbrella charms. I saw these and I've got rings on them. I have to put the clasps on them still. They're so cute. There's a pink one, a white one, and a purple one, and I just love them. So those are going to be some stitch markers. And I saw these actually just recently. And I have some other beads that I may make into stitch markers as well that I don't have with me. I haven't decided yet. But look at these mushrooms. They're little glass mushrooms, and they don't weigh a ton, actually. So they're not, you could have this on a delicate project, and it's not going to weigh your work down. So when I said if you live outside the United States, I'm going to give you the smaller one. This big mushroom, I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with fitting that in a letter-sized envelope. The little one, definitely. I could definitely fit an umbrella in a letter. without them pitching a fit. But I don't think they're going to let me give you a big mushroom. So I will have a big mushroom stitch marker to give away, but I'm not going to be able to mail that outside the US. But I have these little bitty ones, and they're going to still be cute. I'm still going to have a giant clasp on all of these. So what I've decided to do is to give away, depends on how many I make, but at least 2 stitch markers. Or 2, there will be at least 2 winners. Let me say it that way. So there'll be one from YouTube and one from Ravelry. There is a Ravelry group for this podcast. I made it a couple of weeks ago and then promptly got insanely busy with traveling and with finals for school. And I somehow people have still joined it and found it, even though I haven't mentioned it at all. So if you would like to head over to the Ravelry group, I will put up a prompt, a question, and all you have to do is respond. Just type in a little response to the Ravelry group. And I will randomly use a random number generator and pick someone from that thread to win some stitch markers that I have made. The other winner will come from YouTube, from the YouTube comments. So what you can do is in the comments down below on this podcast episode, just comment and tell me what you're working on. I would just love to know one project that you are working on. And then you'll be automatically entered. And I'll use a random number generator and we'll pick a winner from there too to get some stitch markers. And I'll mail them to you and you'll get them and it'll be lovely. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will do the drawing for this on the next podcast episode, which will be in 2 weeks. And I'm just excited to give back. I love creating things. I just want to share a little bit of happiness with you because you guys have brought me so much happiness and joy. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. I so appreciate you. I have such a wonderful time recording this, even though I get a little nervous every time before I start. So every time I have to record the intro at least twice because I just get really like this. But then as soon as I start talking to the camera and I start talking about yarn, it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I know you guys are passionate about. Otherwise, why would you be watching? And it's just wonderful to share a little crafty corner of the internet with you guys. So thank you, love you, appreciate you, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.